Okay, great. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce the last speaker of today, if you can hear me all. And this speaker is a fantastic expert and also a good friend. So it's my true pleasure to introduce you to Eckhard Schwenner. Eckhard has more than 30 years of experience in management in healthcare in general. Would it be in big companies? Would it be in big pharma companies or medtech companies like in Bayer, in Siemens, and in Philips? But also in smaller companies in which he had many positions for deal making and for being the CEO. So he has an experience both in pharma, in diagnostic, in medtech. And also for years now, he has been a consultant for startup companies. Would it be on the very upstream phases or more mature companies? He has lived all around the world, so he has quite a broad experience, broad, let's say, culture of the management needed, specific management skills in healthcare, because he worked in Germany indeed, but also in the US, in Japan, and he worked in China and in India. And on top of being a private consultant, he's been a HealthTech TAB expert for the last 6 years. He's, let's say, one of the top core experts of the expert of the HealthTech TAB that used to be the NanoMed TAB, but now for 3 years we have been accepting the projects, innovative projects outside of pure nanomedicine. And now, thanks to the help of Alexandre Superville, he will share with you some lessons learned from the HealthTech TAB. If you have any question for Eckhard, please raise your hand at any time or put it in the chat. So Eckhard, the floor is yours now.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Now the first slide is coming up. I'm a bit humbled by your introduction, so I hope you don't see me getting red. But having listened to the really great nano programs which just have been presented, I think it's the right thing to say that we as a HealthTech TAB want to transform medical inventions and support the transformation into successful businesses in Europe. So our vision is to make the health tech revolution happen in Europe by accelerating and professionalizing the process of innovation itself. And we want to do this by boosting the best European innovations in health tech through a custom mentoring service based on industry expertise. Now, in the European Union, there are certainly needs in health tech translation, and startups, SMEs, but also bigger companies and academia have great ideas and technologies, for example, nanotechnology, just as an example. But the real question is, if we want to bring this to the help and to the support of people to improve their lives, we need to do the next steps, which is clinical evaluation, market approval, reimbursement, to lead to successful commercialization. And we want to do this with supporting this effort by industry expertise in coaching and mentoring the individual programs, helping them in fundraising efforts, and also providing our network and existing ecosystem. Now, again, the HealthTech TAB is nothing more, nothing less than a custom mentoring service for selected health tech innovators in Europe, which is free of charge for the beneficiaries. And we are a core team of industry experts and entrepreneurs with a broad range of complementary backgrounds and skills. Now, how does it work? You go do an online application, you will be selected or not, but if you are selected, there will be a remote session with 1 or 2 experts for 1 hour, and we will give you verbal but also written feedback. After that, there is a further selection process. We will have those applicants selected in live TAB sessions, like we will have tomorrow at bigger health tech events, like the one of the last few days and tomorrow. And we will again have the evaluation done by 2 or 3 experts with verbal and written feedback. But we don't stop there. We continue with long-term support by the TAB experts for the coming years. Actually, we have programs which we already accompany since more than 4 or even 5 years. So what are we actually doing? We have built a unique culture of mentoring by having peer selection. So it's not just one person, but we have the whole group looking at the different applications which have been pre-selected, and with all kind of different perspectives and experience backgrounds. Then we have it developed over time a strong experience in custom mentoring and long-term partnership, as I just said. We are continuously improving the methodology, and we have clearly focused on unmet clinical needs, my famous requirement, and also key emerging medical technologies. But the medical need and the market need follows the technologies, because in the end, we want to serve the customer, which is the patient. And we guarantee feedback for the beneficiaries, and we are open to all innovators from academia, startup, SMEs, industry, and clinicians. So we have a growing group for more than 5 years. Now here you see all of them actually, and it's a healthy mix, as I find, between powerful entrepreneurs and industry experience. And let's go to the next slide. So what makes us unique? What we actually do, it's a little bit like a psychologist. What we actually make the applicants do is ask themselves the right questions. Is there a market to commercialize this application, or where this technology can be applied? And did we choose the best application? Do I have full freedom to operate even if I have patents, which is an important prerequisite for commercial success? Are we addressing unmet clinical needs? Again, my favorite question. Have we anticipated regulatory requirements in our design? We just heard a lot of discussion or presentation about what's being needed in order to get through to the market approval. Who are my real competitors? Don't make your niche too small, because if you make your niche small, you always have no competitors. So that is not important. You have to look at all the other competitors in the market. Is my team prepared for the challenges? Do I have enough business support? Do I have enough management experience? Do I have administrative support? And last but not least, how do I tell my story? Because if an SME wants to be successful, you need to excite investors for what you are doing to give you their money. So in short, we make academia think like SMEs and make SMEs think like industry. Here are some statistics for what we have achieved so far. More than 110 projects which we supported. We have created actually more than 4 startups in my mind, reshaped 5 projects, helped in fundraising of more than 15 million euros across 20 countries. Now I would like to show you successful examples. First one is Live Nano with Sue Metcalf. Sue actually has managed to develop a nano formulation for the leukemia inhibitory factor and managed to make it possible to cross the blood-brain barrier, ultimately to treat multiple sclerosis or even other neurodegenerative diseases. I'm not going to read her feedback here, but you may have a look at it. Next example, please, is Ruby Nanomet with Lorena Diegues. She has developed a medical nano device actually for selecting, or actually for enriching circulating tumor cells with much higher efficiency and sensitivity than the existing gold standard cell search in the market, and that without the need of a particular epitope on the circulating cancer cells. So in common, both examples have in common that they have the potential to set a new gold standard in the market, and very more important, so help patients in areas where there is a huge need which has not been addressed so far. And the last slide basically sums it up. So what is the HealthTech TAB? It's a custom mentoring service in HealthTech across Europe. We are open to all innovators. We guarantee feedback, and we, I think, have demonstrated some value along the line. So my question to you is, why hesitate? Apply now. You see the link here, and we have recently managed to create, as I find, a very nice video which can demonstrate what I've been trying to say here in even a much better way. So please have a look at that, and come apply and get selected, hopefully. And we are happy to support. Now, I want to thank you for listening and open up the court for questions.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Eckhard. Just to recall to the people listening that tomorrow, at the very end of the ETPN 2020 event, you will have a live session of the HealthTech TAB. When I say live, is that you cannot attend for confidentiality reasons, obviously. But we'll have how many projects tomorrow? Eckhard will receive.
I think it's 9 or 10.
Okay, fantastic. So maybe before we get a question from the audience, I have a couple of questions for you. My question is not naive, but will seem a bit naive. What is a good project, Eckhard, and how can you recognize it fast?
Okay, well, if I look at the different applications, my question always is there something which has been there already, like a Me Too, yeah, like you know, another fluoxetine antibiotic, or another dihydropyridine blood pressure lowering product, that would not raise my interest. So it needs to address an unmet clinical need, and it needs to be told as a story which is convincing and having very important ingredients like, is it IPable? Can you get a patent on this if you haven't applied already, or has a patent been granted? Is the market interesting enough? Is it really you know, a market which is sizable or not? And is it a project which has considered already from the beginning the necessity of all the development steps along the line until the market?
Thanks a lot. My second question is, we often have some testimonies from people working in academia with fantastic science and technology, but they are a bit afraid of, let's say, jumping in the void and beginning a startup. So my question is, would you recommend to try to do it yourself because it's your science, it's your baby, your technology, or would you better recommend to try to hire, or let's say involve an external CEO with a really let's say with an MBA or something, really someone into entrepreneurship? I know
that's a great question, and it's very difficult to answer. And I'm not sitting here and saying I have the crystal ball. It really depends, and it's like Radio Erivan. It depends. I have seen young people, much younger than 30, who had a spirit, an entrepreneurial spirit, which is basically irradiating from the presentation itself. And in that case, I would definitely say, hey, go take your baby and bring it into the next step of first financing round yourself, and then see whether you can develop into a marketing expert or whatever else, or really a leader who is able to combine all the different areas: R&D, marketing, Q&A, QA, very, very important, by the way, regulatory part, etc. You don't need to know this all yourself, but what you need to have as an entrepreneur going forward is to be able to respect the necessity of all the different aspects. And I have been hearing and listening to the presentations before. So coordinating the different areas which make a company, of course, including necessities for clinical trials, toxicology, etc., that necessity needs to be understood and felt by the leader of a company. And I would say it depends, as I said before, but you can always try. And then if you go through the first investment round, the investors who are interested enough to talk to you and sit through several presentation rounds, they will find out very quickly whether the person presenting there, whether they think this person is being able to really pull this through up to a certain point or not. And then they will request by themselves that they see a need for a commercial person to go forward. What I always suggest in our reviews is that the person, if it's a research person presenting, that the person should be looking very early on for business development and or business management support, either in the beginning from the outside, must not be immediately part of the company, or also as part of the company if the money is there to pay those guys.
Okay, last question, and I'm getting almost emotional right now, Eckhard, because it's a question from Pedro Silva, who used to be one of the fathers of the TAB and a former manager of the TAB in Tecminio back to the days. So the question of Pedro is very interesting, I think, because you have a 6-year experience, notably from Nano to HealthTech TAB. Have you been witnessing an increase in the quality of the project received and supported by the TAB as a consequence of, for example, more entrepreneurial mindsets in academia, better support schemes, advances in science or technology?
Well, that's a real good question to ask. Again, don't want to evade, but it's not easy to answer because the let's say the differences in quality of people is still there. I have seen most recently very highly, how do I say this, highly professionalized stories being told. But that's a danger there as well. If people come and have a good advisory panel where they have been trained in telling a story and making sure that they have the right market data at hand, etc., that does not necessarily make it a better product or a better development program. We have to differentiate between at the face value, what you see. You may be impressed by a presentation, but that doesn't mean that the basic science and the data behind it is also at the same level. So to answer the question, I cannot really answer it because the professionalism in telling the story has become better. The content itself, not necessarily, I would say. So it's a mixed bag.
Thank you for this very frank and honest feedback. And every time it's different. This is why it's custom mentoring. Every project we receive, it's a different story. You will help it for a few weeks or maybe sometimes for a few years. So that's about people, and all people are different, right? So
That's it.
Eckhard, I would like to thank you very much. And once again, to encourage people to go to the website of the HealthTech TAB check the video because you have testimonies from the beneficiaries, from the experts. I think it's really interesting. And also you can be, let's say, motivated to apply for your science, your technology, because maybe you wanted to put not in the lab, but in the clinics. So
can I say a last sentence?
Oh, please, come on.
What I would like to bring over to the audience is that we as a TAB, together with Alex and many other people, want to make sure that Europe, in comparison to the United States, gets a fair chance to bring the innovations in the same way to a successful commercialization, as we can see it actually in the United States. There is much more money around, there is much more high risk taking by investors. And if we can help to professionalize also the presentations, but also the content of the programs which have made the decision to go further to the market, then we have reached our goal, and we are not there yet, for sure not. But I think with the help of maybe EIT and EIC and European Investment Fund as well, because money is actually needed here, we can combine industry expertise or intelligence shortly with intelligent money. That's the goal.
And by intelligent money, you're too shy to say that the TAB has worked with less than $1 million of a budget in 6 years, helped to raise more than 15 millions. So the leverage is huge, and helped to save tons and tons of millions in investment in projects that should not go to translational science. So right. Thank you again for that, Eckhard, and thank you for the presentation. So now we are going.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. That was great.
Thank you, Eckhard.
Yeah, before we close, maybe we would like to give the mic to the chairs, to Fabrice, Alan, and Ruth for a final word before we close the meeting.
So maybe I will let Alan and Ruth. For me, it was a fantastic meeting to share with the community the two famous bottlenecks to put the nanomedicine product from the lab to the market. So clinical development, characterization, toxicology, and so on, but also manufacturing. It's a pity that we have no more time to discuss about manufacturing, but I trust Ruth to organize maybe a webinar on that to further discuss this point. So I'll let you, Alan and Ruth, say the word of the end.
Okay, shall I go next, Ruth? And then I'll leave the final words to you. No, it's been a really good workshop, and I think you're right, Fabrice. The discussions on manufacturing, unfortunately, were very short, and I would support doing another webinar of some kind. The way medicine's developed has changed. Is when it was just chemicals, the rate limiting step was usually the last clinical study. Now, with products like we've got, these biologicals, these nanomedicines, the rate limiting step tends to be the manufacturing and finishing it all off. So it is so important to get products approved. So I'd support that. But great workshop, and I've enjoyed moderating it and taking part. So thank you. Ruth, over to you.
Thank you. So I will then close this workshop. It was really a very good workshop. It was interesting to see that the 4 projects, they all have included the focus on scale up and GMP production and translation into their discovery phase of their project and of their products. So, and I hope that we have planted some seeds with some of the attendees that this is really important. You have to include all those translational topics already in your discovery phase if you want to succeed. I would like to thank the 4 projects with New Deal in the lead for this workshop, and I would like to thank all attendees for having been there, and the 2 Alexis in the background for making also the workshop happen. So it was really very interesting, and it closes these 2 interesting nanomedicine days. So I would say once more to all of you, stay safe and stay healthy. And I will really, together with Alex, work on a follow-up workshop for the manufacturing part.
We'll start tonight, Ruth.
Thank you.
Thanks to all. Bye-bye. That was a great virtual meeting. Thanks to you.
Bye-bye.
I'm sorry
Bye-bye.
we cannot all speak.
Bye bye,
Thank you
everybody.
so much. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Have a nice evening.
Bye bye.